So moving on to something I'm sure you're really excited to talk about, Phoenix. One of my favorite things is the Lord of the Rings, and I kind of wanted to just touch on Amazon kind of covering the Lord of the Rings with their the Rings of Power series. I'll do a little opening I presented for you guys just to kind of explain what the show is about if you don't know.
It is about Daenerys trying to take over the kingdoms and.
Yep. Yes, exactly. No, that's exactly what I don't want. That's exactly what I don't want with my Lord of the Rings is for it to be Game of Thronesified. But yeah, basically it's an upcoming TV series on September 2nd that's produced by Amazon that takes place in the world created by J.R.R. Tolkien. It takes place thousands of years before the events of the Lord of the Rings in Middle-earth's Second Age, in a time before the creation of the Rings of Power, when Middle-earth felt it was in a period of peace. Centered in the show is the fan favorite Galadriel, the Lady of the Wood, whoop whoop, and a new character created for the show, a man by the name of Halbrand. Boo, I don't know you. Nope, no Sauron or the downfall of Numenor here. Nothing to see here, folks. Just good old peace and prosperity on Middle-earth. I don't know, that's kind of an opening I kind of set up for did myself for the show. If you don't know, I'm a huge fan of Lord of the Rings. I actually liked the Hobbit movies, didn't love them. They had problems, but I don't know, kind of, it really makes me appreciate seeing the Hobbit as opposed to comparing it to something like the sequel trilogy with Star Wars. I don't know. I feel like he handled that a little bit better. But yeah, so I guess just overall, Phoenix, what are your kind of what's your approach to the Lord of the Rings and all the Middle Earth stuff? What if anything do you like from that world?
Oh, I mean, I like Lord of the Rings as much as the next guy. I mean, I enjoy the movies. I've read, I think the first book. I definitely read Fellowship. I don't think I ever finished Two
I
Towers.
finished
I
Two
know I got it before
Towers. I
then.
never read the third one. I read
I
them when I in
remember.
like middle school too, so I was young.
Yeah, it's been well over a decade since I've done it.
Never
I
read The
enjoy
Hobbit
them.
or The Silmarillion, I gotta say.
They're not my favorite by certain standards. I personally like the Fellowship of the Ring. I really liked. If we're talking about the movies,
All time
um,
classic.
did not love Two Towers nearly as much.
That's
I
my
liked Return of the King better.
that's my favorite is the Two Towers.
That's fair. I mean, I don't think any of them were bad movies. I feel like that was the one that kind of lulled for me the most. But that's just my opinion. I did not love the Hobbit movies. I think I liked them even less after I, read up more about it. Like they basically stretched one book into three movies and added all this
Basically.
extra stuff that didn't need to be there. Which that will kind of be, I think, part of where we're going to talk to about adjusting source material. But
I would actually say to anyone who's curious about the Hobbits, other than reading the books, I know it's not a popular thing, but I actually recently watched the 1977, I think, animated
the
movie
animated, yeah,
with
that one's pretty good.
Rankin Bass. It's quite ridiculous, but I actually really enjoyed it. It's super quick and it it does summarize everything that happens very quickly. But maybe it only feels quick because Peter Jackson made them into freaking three movies.
Hmm.
But I guess yeah, just a few quick things. I mean, I know Phoenix isn't quite as he's not quite as digs deep on Lord of the Rings quite as much as me. It's possibly my favorite movie trilogy of all time between the three. I like it more than Star Wars. I like it more than Harry Potter's. Make fun of me if you want, but yeah, I love those movies. Just a quick a couple of notes to put on here. Once again, no Peter Jackson involved, which is scary for someone like me. I loved Peter Jackson's the three movies. I love The Hobbits. Well, I liked The Hobbits, so I'm I don't know. Yeah, once again, not crazy about Peter not being involved, but what can you do with Daddy Bezos? He'll do what he'll do. What he'll do. If you don't know, the Amazon purchased the IP for $250 million from the Tolkien estate for it was back in 2017. So they essentially all they purchased was the Lord of the Rings TV rights. The actual, funny enough, the actual video game rights for the Lord of the Rings right now is actually kind of up for sale and up for grabs. That's another interesting topic. I won't delve too deep into that, seeing as how nothing's come up of it. It's just available for purchase. The weird thing is...
That's pretty interesting, honestly. Like, I don't know if you've thought about this, but, Microsoft's been going on a spending spree lately. I would not be surprised if they made an offer for the Lord of the Rings license, because they're wanting IPs right now. So,
well, the interesting thing about the Lord of the Rings video game license is there have been games that have come out. Like, it's not like there haven't been Lord of the Rings games made by other developers. Like, you got the Shadow of Mordor, that series. You've got, like, all these other games that are, like...
Weren't they all published by... Were they EA? Is that correct?
Probably published by EA, yeah.
Yes, they probably had some kind of license or publishing contract to produce them.
It's almost like with Star Wars now, where how, like, all of a sudden the last year or so, I think Star Wars, the game license for the Star Wars games is now kind of open, where they can, they can let anybody develop a game. It's not just tied to, I think it's EA as well with that.
Honestly, I think that's a pretty valuable IP to have. Like, I haven't played all of them, but I've actually played a good amount of the Lord of the Rings games, and most of them have been pretty solid. Like, even if you go back to, like, the old school, like, movie games, Two Towers, Return of the King, those are classics for a lot of people. And then you had, was it Shadow of Mordor games, you had War of the North. They've put a lot of, I think, solid Lord of the Rings-based games out there. Not all of them have been, hits, but I think there'd be an IP that if someone snatched up, they could definitely make a good profit off of it.
Because there's even that Gollum game that comes out like this year or next year. And that's like a big title.
Oh, I forgot about that.
Yeah, there's an actual Lord of the Rings game where you just play as Gollum, which I don't know what you do other than grab fish out of water and smash their skulls against rocks. I don't know.
You just, follow Frodo and Sam and watch them, hang out all night.
Make out while they're...
whoa, I don't need to go there.
You know how many fan fictions there are of
I don't even know. I don't know.
All right, we won't.
I barely even read the first book. Don't let me read it.
We won't delve deep into that. But yeah. So I mean, I guess just another few tidbits. Like I said, we won't spend much time on this. Is more of a ChazmaN thing. But yeah, as of right now, I think it's being dubbed the most expensive TV series ever made, which I guess that's no shock coming from the Bezos party. But wow, I said party. That makes him sound like that probably isn't. That's probably very futuristic.
He's his
own political party.
It's only a matter of time.
That's gonna happen.
You're gonna have the leftist, the rightist, and the
Bezos. But his wife will have her own party because she got so much money off of him. His ex-wife, I should say. Mm-hmm. But yeah, apparently, with this season and future seasons, they are slated to have spent, along with purchasing the IP, they're slated to have spent over $1 billion on creating this one TV show. So, yeah, that's kind of crazy, in my opinion.
Man.
Yeah. Something worrisome. I'll just mention a couple things for me. Showrunners J.D. Payne and Patrick McCain. This is their first IMDb credit. Why? Why on my favorite, one of my favorite IPs, do you give someone, you spend over $1 billion and the people you put in charge of it have their first IMDb credit? Shocking. That's crazy. You know what I mean?
Really? I mean, I haven't looked at this, so I'm just kind of going off what you're saying.
They have no current IMDb. This is their first IMDb credits. They're like...
And are they directing? Is that where?
Yeah, they're showrunners.
They don't have any like
writers. I haven't looked too deep into it, but as far as I know, these two college buddies. That's worrisome, man. But
yeah, I don't know. I mean, I've been surprised before, but typically for something that big, you're right. You want someone who has a proven track record of.
But someone with a proven track record is gonna want to do things certain ways, and I'm hoping they didn't get yes men
control over it. Yeah,
that's worrisome.
I mean, it honestly wouldn't surprise me. I mean, looking at it from a high level, I mean, I'm sure you'll get into this. I don't know. I see red flags kind of pop up across the board with this particular entry.
No.
I don't know how you feel.
I agree, man. it looks to me it's crazy how expensive and how because it looks cheap if you saw that trailer. Like
I don't know if I think it looked cheap.
the CGI just look. There's too much CGI. Like
I'd have to look at somebody. Honestly, I mean, that's not what stood out to me. I mean, maybe I wasn't looking at that too much. Some of the effects I thought actually looked pretty solid, but maybe that's just me not, paying close enough attention to it.
Yeah. But yeah, I guess just once again, I'll just rattle off a couple things. I already mentioned being worried about it being something closer to Game of Thrones, which better not be. Just everyone needs that Game of Thrones TV show that they have planned that needs to get thrown out. Like the way Game of Thrones ended, just we won't get it. Maybe we'll do another video on that. But
don't make me jazz.
but yeah, like there's just I don't know. No Peter Jackson. New people and put in charge. It's just I don't know. For me, it's very worrisome, and it's something I most definitely hope is done justice. But we will see. I guess I'll rattle off a question I had for you. Do you care how close or how far Amazon gets from Tolkien's source material, which is, for me, someone who's a huge fan of Tolkien's material? I mean, I'm not as. I'll let you go. Go ahead.
Okay, so I'm a bit of both minds about this, but so here's from my understanding. You can correct me if I'm wrong, because I once again am not the biggest Lord of the Rings buff. But this is all happening once again prior to any of the the creation of the rings, all that kind of stuff. So we're kind of in a empty period, right? Where there's not a whole lot of really stories written. Am I correct on that, or is this based upon pre-written literature?
This series where it takes place?
Well, this whatever storyline they're going with, I don't know if they released much about the plot.
Yes. Oh yeah. This plot.
Unique?
This plot is all predetermined. This is all on stuff that he wrote. Tolkien.
Oh, okay. See, I didn't know that. I
thought
no, this was more off the cuff.
Yeah, the whole fall of Numenor and the whole rise of Sauron and all this stuff. This is all Silmarillion based stuff.
Opinion a little bit. Oh, okay, Silmarillion. Okay, I didn't know that. So once again, I'm sorry about it. I'm not a huge Lord of the Rings guy.
No, the whole because this technically takes place in the Second Age, which I believe the Silmarillion covers ages 1 and 2. Again, guys, I'm a huge fan, but I'm not the most follower. I wish I was, but I'm not I don't follow the book quite as much as I wish I did. But I believe this covers ages 1 and 2, and then the end of age 2 leads into the I want to say the end of age 2 leads into the creation of the rings. Or does the end? No, I can't remember. Yeah. For you, you probably don't care. But yeah, at least what goes on in this show is covered in the books by far.
So I guess that Matt changes my thoughts a little bit about it. So here's kind of my take when you do any kind of adaptation. You're adapting one of two things. You're either adapting the world to fit your needs, or you're adapting a story. And I feel like sometimes when you're just adapting a story, you can get by with a lot more changes, because a story, it has to be changed to fit, different audiences, different, maybe genres or locations. I think you can get away with a lot of changes. But when you're adapting a world, especially something as rich and specific as what Tolkien's done, you can't get away with that as much, because part of what makes Lord of the Rings is that world. When you start tweaking things and moving things around and changing out characters, you don't have the same world. And that's what people fell in love with these pieces of literature. I mean, yes, there's a story to it and there's characters, but Lord of the Rings is more than that. It is the world around everything. And that's where you can argue about even stuff like Star Wars and all these other huge IPs. There's a world built into it. What people take issue with is when you start trying to adapt that world and the world doesn't feel right anymore. Correct me if I'm wrong, but was it's Galadriel? Is that how you say her name?
Galadriel, yes, Galadriel.
Was she really a warrior elf kind of chick, or is that something they're adding?
No, she was a warrior. She took a part. She played a part in a lot of the battles.
Okay.
Same thing with Elrond. I mean, you see Elrond battling in the first movie, but yeah, Elrond and his brother and all those A lot of those, all of them are warriors. They're like very elderly in the movies. That's why they don't do as much.
So I might be speaking out of place then for this, because I don't know the books and the characters well enough to really make, I think, an accurate judgment about it. But I don't know. I guess that's what I would worry about.
I don't have a problem with them taking some liberties with some things, and I know that's weird coming from, a diehard Lord of the Rings fan. I think the problem you get into is when you, like, liberties can be taken, but if you don't do something well, then you're going to get torn apart. And you could say that for anything.
You make change in service of an agenda. And I think that's what most people are concerned about, is so many TV shows nowadays, when they're put out, there's a clear agenda or message trying to be portrayed for whatever that message may be. And the show suffers because they're trying to push that agenda. And I think that's just what I fear about this. And the fact that you were saying that these showrunners don't have any credits to their name and now we're worried about yes men worries me even more. If these guys aren't coming into this with some vision they have of how to interpret these works on their own that is a creative direction, it makes me worry that, okay, it's going to be these guys who are just adept enough to actually make the show happen, and they're just going to be taking cues off higher ups who are trying to, once again, push an agenda, do whatever. And that's concerning to me. Now, as I said, I'm going to reserve my judgment until I see the show.
Definitely, yeah.
And I do think people sometimes criticize too early based upon a casting choice or a decision they've made. And I am very much somebody who, I think I've grown more this way over time. I'm less concerned about having to be one-to-one exact with source material. I feel like I don't know, if you overly criticize something to that point, you have a hard time enjoying anything. I like kind of going into things, just enjoying it for what it is, letting it be. If it's not, perfect by any means, I kind of let this roll off the shoulder a little bit, right? If it's something that ends up being really good, that's great. But if not, I'm not going to get overly concerned or upset about it. So
I agree.
I don't know.
I'm getting older, go figure. Everyone's getting older, but but I'm very much set in my ways and set in my thinking of, like, I'm very open to the new things, but I'm kind of at the point where I don't get disappointed anymore if I see something I don't like, because I always have that old thing that made me happy. Like, if this show bombs and it sucks, I've got no problems not watching it, and I will spend the rest of my days watching Two Towers. You know what I mean?
Like, I don't like the argument that,
it ruined your childhood.
Ruins the original work. Like, probably the best example in recent memory is Cowboy Bebop, right? We can probably agree we didn't love that adaptation, but I don't think that by any means tarnishes the original work.
To stop watching it, go watch the original. And you
can say that about anything, Star Wars, or I don't know, Lord of the Rings in this case. I mean, you can enjoy what you enjoy about it. If you don't, you move on. It's not a huge loss.
I think that's my whole way with Dragon Ball and Super and everything, where it's like, I'm a huge Dragon Ball fan. If you don't know on my channel, I have lots of videos talking about Dragon Ball, but Super's just something I haven't gotten into, and it's like, that's no problem with that. Like, I'm happy some people can enjoy it. I wasn't particularly in it, but hey, I'll go back and watch Z and Dragon Ball. Like, that's no problem. But I guess to kind of round out, I'll just switch over to this article to show you something very worrying for me. And that is this quote right here when they were talking about diversification, I guess, within the show and the world. Which, again, diversification isn't to me, it's not a problem. It's not a problem. I don't know. It's a very slippery slope where it's like, what does Tolkien's characters look like? I don't know. But I guess my whole thing is just this quote right here where it says, who was this? I don't remember. It's someone here who takes place within the show. But this is a Vanity Fair article, and it just, the quote is, "It felt only natural to us that an adaptation of Tolkien's work would reflect what the world actually looks like."
And they're talking about what our world looks like, not
what our world looks like, which to me, that's one of the most troubling things to see out of the show. It's troubling because, again,
it sounds like it's diversification for the sake of diversification. It's not something that Tolkien's world is going to benefit from
Yeah.
necessarily. I don't know. As I said, I am not against diversification. I think my issue here, and what I said, you could argue against this, but when Tolkien wrote this, he was writing for his world at the time, right? The way his kind of environmental factors were at the time, what the world was like to him, and he was also writing this story with a very specific focus and vision on who the characters were. Like, the elves were tall, slender, fair-skinned people. Like, that is explicitly
in
written.
his movies and in his stories, there already is a sense of racism. There already is a sense of tension between these races. There's years and years of wars and battles and stereotypes, and it's like, in the end of the Lord of the Rings, like, you know, the whole thing between Gimli and Legolas is like, it's like people coming together. I'm just saying, he got across messages of unity, messages of you know, we're never going to win these wars separate. We must, coming together. I mean, I just think if the colors were, I think a lot of the, at least the elves, I think in the books it says a lot of them were fair-skinned, which, I'm not sure, but to me it's a reflection of what, like you said, Tolkien saw, like he and in his world, like, and to be honest, most people who knew Tolkien and a lot of people who understand the man, apparently he was a really nice and really good dude. He was like, a lot of the books and stuff that he wrote were very like anti-war, obviously. I mean, because I think he was in World War II, and it's like, there's very good there's very messages of like anti-war. Actually, the largest thing he was against was like, he was very pro-environmentalism. Like, that's why a lot of within Lord of the Rings, that's why the world looks so crappy, is because of like deforestation and war kind of attributing to this ugliness that surrounds Middle Earth, and it's just like, I don't know. Again, I don't know. It's a very tricky.
Come across with the wrong message here by any means. I think what's concerning about it is just, it seems like, here's the thing. At the end of the day, if the actors do a good job and the rest of the source material is respected, then that's great. I'm not going to have any issue with it whatsoever. But the fact that I feel like they're making these changes just because, like, I don't know what the rationale was for maybe doing some of these casting choices. And maybe I'm hoping it's just because these were the best people for these positions. They, killed the audition.
Oh, most definitely. Oh, I agree. Like, ultimately,
the way they made that statement is concerning. That they want to change Tolkien's work to reflect our world. Here's the thing: when I watch any media like that, I don't usually want to see our world. I do it as an escape to enjoy some other fictional world.
It's dubbed a fantasy epic. The Lord of the Rings is a fantasy epic. It's a fantasy world.
Every piece of media needs to be a commentary on the state of our world. Like, there is a place for that for sure, but we already have that interjecting so many different forms of our media, whether it be our games or our TV shows or what have you. Sometimes I just want to go watch a movie and just enjoy the movie. So,
and again, within Tolkien's world, like, he was very, like, he actually hates the idea of man, like not hates the idea, but like, that's why the men with the 9 rings, that's why they end up becoming the Nazgul, because they're easily corruptible. Man is corruptible. It's like, man is more easily corruptible. They're flawed. It's like, he himself was a person of like, he really didn't like normal people. But yeah, guys, ultimately, I'm absolutely open to giving the show a chance. I really do hope it's well, and I hope all of the showrunners and all of the actors that take place into it really go in with as much heart and love for Tolkien's world as someone like me or other diehard, Middle-earth fans are. Like, Tolkien created, like, he didn't just create a fantasy epic or a fantasy world. a lot of people consider he created the fantasy world. You know what I mean? And he created an awesome world, and I for one am super excited for it. And yeah, so any last words on the Lord of the Rings? Anything?
I mean, not anything I think we've already said. I am going to be cautiously optimistic about it. I'll try to, give it the best chance possibly can, because I of course want it to be good. I mean, as I said, I don't by any means dislike Lord of the Rings. It's maybe not my, top tier franchise, but I am not going to turn down opportunity to spend some more time in the world, because I do think, Lord of the Rings, great world building, some great characters. So I'd say cautiously optimistic that things will turn out well.
It's very concerning and also interesting, just the overall discourse around this show. I mean, Twitter is a barn fire, man. There's so many people with negative Nancy opinions on things, and it's like, ultimately my whole thing is I hope it's good. If it's good,
I'm all for criticism where criticism's due, and I'm not saying that there aren't red flags maybe for certain things, but there's so little about this show out right now. Like, I feel like anything we say, we're just going to dig a hole, or fight a battle on a molehill that isn't really necessary right now, right? We need to go ahead and just let this play out. Let's see some real trailers and just see where they're taking things.
Yep. I'm not disappointed with the dwarven women not having beards at all. I'm open to.
I wish I could have a beard.
There's a lot of people mad that the dwarven women don't have beards, and
is that a thing?
Yeah, and Gimli and
that's right.
Gimli in the Two Towers. No, Gimli in the first one or Two Towers says something about how sometimes even normal folk can't tell a dwarven woman from a man because of their facial hair. Yeah. He's like in a drunken stupor while saying that too.
I am kind of sad I don't get to see that now, to be honest, because I think that would be kind of.
I cannot believe they dropped the beards. Because you've never seen a dwarven woman in any of the Tolkien or in any of the Peter Jackson movies, because there basically are none. Or I mean, let's be honest, the dwarven race in those shows, like, I think the dwarven race as a whole is very minute.
Yeah,
there's just not many of them around anymore, and I think
they got to do a lot with a bit with the Hobbit. So
yeah, fair enough.
Anyway,
but yeah, once again, guys, very excited. We'll see if we could do a video on it. I'm very. I think this style of video. I mean, I don't know about you, Phoenix, but this style of video could be fun down the line of maybe just choosing a specific topic and just going all in for 20 or 30 minutes on a movie, or maybe for my next topic,